right, so let's go ahead and the next segment. We're going to pick our all-time starting offenses. So we're going to give a quarterback, a running back, two wide receivers, and a tight end. Now, chances are that some of our guys will overlap, and that's fine. They're at the top for a reason. But Jake, you want to start off?
Uh, yeah, I'll start off. So originally we had talked about this prior, probably about a week prior to recording this. We had been discussing it. So I had like two teams built, one based purely off of favorite players, like maybe guys that wouldn't get picked for the most part on other teams, and then I had one that was like actually top tier players all time. Um, I'll go with that one because I feel like it's a little bit more on topic for what we're doing.
Yeah, we could do both. I'm fine with either one.
I'll give both. I'll give both.
Go for it.
I'll go with my all time greats though. Um, Number one quarterback. As much as I hate to say it, to me it is probably Brett Favre. From everything I've seen from Brett Favre, I caught the tail end of his career in my lifetime. But watching everything from Brett Favre beforehand, it's hard to deny how good of a quarterback he was. I'm somebody who I may hate the competition, but I still respect and understand greatness when I see it. So Brett Favre would be my quarterback. Um, this is my one bias pick. I think we can all go one bias pick here. My one biased pick is Walter Payton at the running back position. Walter Payton to me is the greatest running back of all time. There, that's a big dispute. There's a lot of guys I feel like you could have that conversation about, but to me, Walter Payton was just that guy.
I'm not going to argue with you on that one.
I think wide receiver. I picked the two guys that people would go to probably immediately, and that's Jerry Rice and Randy Moss. Those guys to me are kind of the they are the best of the best when it comes to wide receiver position. Those are what most wide receivers say they aspire to be. Whenever you ask a high school or college wide receiver, what do you want to be whenever you get to the NFL? That is what they see. And I think that to me, that's what kind of won that over. But the wide receiver position is so vast across NFL history that it is kind of a hard thing to pick. But to me, those are the two best. And you put them on a team together, and it's insane. And then finally, tight end. Uh, I went with Antonio Gates. That was probably my favorite tight end in the league. When he was here, and it was, yeah, you just knew when it went to him, he was gonna make a play. It didn't matter where Philip Rivers was putting that ball. He he was catching that ball and making a play. And that was just the kind of guy that Antonio Gates was.
I like that lineup. I don't see too many teams, or too many defenses being able to figure that one out.
Exactly. Um, do you want me to go with my other lineup now, or do you guys want to take this one from here?
Uh, yeah, go ahead and you can give your kind of all-time favorite lineup if you want.
All right, I'll go
A
ahead
little
and go with
backyard
that.
football team.
Um, my first quarterback, and this is gonna be something that a lot of people are gonna be like, really? But I went with Donovan McNabb because when I first started watching football, I loved watching Donovan McNabb. I loved his play style. Uh, I loved his charisma. I loved what he could do with the football. Whenever he was on the field, he was the guy to watch. Um, for running back, I went with Maurice Jones-Drew. I remember watching him in the game against Carolina where it was just a downpour, and he rushed for over 100 yards. He made that Carolina defense look terrible. That's one of my favorite things to go back and watch is the highlights of that game. But I also remember the backyard football games. and you draft Maurice Jones-Drew to your team, and it was always so fun. I loved MJD when he was in the league. Wide receiver, I still went with Randy Moss. I mean, I feel like that's a fair pick. I look back, watch Randy Moss tapes, and he was just something different. And then Megatron, for his 9 years in the league, I feared playing Megatron every week, or not every week, every year. Had to play him twice a year. I feared playing him every time. You never knew what he was gonna do. And then tight end, a little bias on this one, but I liked him before he was even on the Bears. Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham has always been that tight end for me, no matter where he was, whether it was the Saints, the Packers, the Seahawks, or now the Bears. He's just always a guy that you can rely on in the red zone, and he always is able to make a really good catch. No matter where you put the ball, you can put that ball a foot above the defender's head, and Jimmy Graham is coming down with that.
Yeah, Jimmy, Miss Prime Jimmy was
I
a
miss
sight,
Prime Jimmy.
wasn't it?
It was. I tell you
Then
what,
he'd go and jump over a goalpost.
the football world was different in Jimmy Graham's prime.
Alrighty. So I'm gonna go ahead and in my starting lineup. I went ahead and picked Michael Vick at the QB, especially that 2004 Madden Michael Vick. I know we all remember that. And then I went with an older running back with Barry Sanders, just the best running back I think of all time. And then for wide receiver, I picked two that had a big impact on me growing up watching football. Just at that early age, I'd go AB and Julio. They transcended the wide receiver position, especially with AB being that 6th round pick on my favorite team. Little biased, but hey, we'll have it. And then for tight end, I just picked Gronk. It was Antonio Gates before Jake said it, and then I went ahead and changed it up.
I think it's fair to have a biased pick. You know, I think I think AB's a fine pick, especially if that's your one biased pick. I don't think there's a lot of issues with that.
That man could get open in any coverage, and Tony Toto. Woo! Gotta. Yeah, he burned all his bridges in Pittsburgh, but I still miss him. I cannot lie. He is still putting up the exact same numbers, and he missed 2 years of football. It just drives me insane.
I love AB. Plays he plays fun football to watch.
Hmm.
Anytime he touches the ball.
Needs to get on the field for my fantasy team. Golly. Need him after Calvin Ridley sat out. Man. Well, we won't get into that.
All right, so I'm next up, yeah?
Yep.
All right. So my all-time team, right? Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, is one of, if not the greatest, just pure passer of the football. I've been a huge Rodgers fan pretty much all my life. I like his kind of almost, I don't want to say like mysteriousness, but just secrecy in the media. I like how anytime the media talks about him, it's based off of assumptions and not facts, at least the majority of the time. Uh, I'm not talking about the current situation with Aaron Rodgers, but just in years prior. Uh, I've always been a big fan of his. I don't think that there are many quarterbacks who can throw into windows like he can. Like, but just overall, ever at the quarterback position in the NFL, he's my pick for the quarterback position. The running back, I've got all day AP. Adrian Peterson in his prime. I don't know how many guys better than him. I mean, coming off of the ACL and then just absolutely tearing the league apart. I love it.
I mean, who
I
was
think
stopping him?
Tearing his ACL the year prior
Russell
and then running for 2,000 yards.
Exactly.
2000 after torn ACL. I just uh for my wide receivers, I'm gonna go with Megatron. Uh, nobody's guarding him. sometimes two people can't even guard him. I feel like he's kind of I don't want to say a shoe-in because there have been great wide receivers to play in the NFL. And it's hard to pick just two. But I have to go with Megatron for the first one and Randy Moss for the second one. Randy he was the guy, wasn't he? He was that guy.
I mean,
He
you know you're good whenever you have something of catching a ball over a defender's head named after you.
yeah yeah. Anytime your name is coined as an act of absolutely humiliating a defender. Yeah. And for my tight end, I went with Tony Gonzalez. You guys took Gronk and Gates. Take Tony Gonzalez.
I
He
think
was I loved him.
that's where I would have gone, but I just wanted to be a little different, I guess, with
Yeah.
my tight end pick. I mean, it's either
Well,
Gates, Gronk,
I
or
had Gates up
Gonzalez.
there. I was between I mean, yeah, it was toss up between those three, and I feel like it would be like that for most people, at least
Now, who's
for
a
our
better
age
Kansas City
demographic.
tight end, Kelsey or Gates? Not Gates, Gonzalez.
I mean, let's let Kelsey retire. Well, I mean, KC tight end probably Kelsey. Won a Super Bowl with him. Gonzalez is good in Kansas City, but
I guess you can give it to
I
that
mean,
at that
he
point.
was
Yeah.
also a
Gonzalez,
Falcon.
he kind of made his Kansas City was kind of where he made his name. He didn't go to Atlanta till towards the end of his career.
Yeah,
I think stats wise, probably Gonzalez, but I think in terms of what they've brought to the city, I give a lot of credit to Kelsey's success, also to Patty, but it's not like Kelsey isn't a good tight end to begin with. You can give
right.
him any quarterback, and even quarterbacks who just love that check down. Kelsey's getting those stats. You're not stopping
I
him from
mean,
getting those stats.
no, he's what you want in a tight end. I mean, obviously he's the best in the league, but I like really any of those three picks at tight end.
Yeah.
Kelsey, I think once he retires, his name will probably be at least mentioned. Jake, I kind of want to kind of convinced me to create a little backyard football starting lineup. So I'll go through it real quick. At quarterback, I'm gonna take Peyton. Just
Mm-hmm.
it's one of my other favorite quarterbacks growing up.
Got to take the
At
sheriff.
running back, I'm gonna go with the bias pick. Everybody's had one. I'm gonna go with Steven Jackson.
That's fair.
Love that man. He has no idea who I am. That's okay. But I remember running around my house with a Rams helmet and just acting like I was Steven Jackson. I was not Steven Jackson, but act like it. The wide receiver positions, it gets a little bit tricky. I would probably go. I love Chad Ochocinco Johnson, whatever you want to call him. Uh, Man who can burn you a route, burn you in FIFA, and then go pick up a Big Mac afterwards. I love him. And for that second wide receiver, you know what? Give me Steve Smith.
I love
Not
that pick.
not now. See, there was the little debacle whenever there were two Steve Smiths in the league. I believe one was on the Giants, right? And then obviously the one on the Panthers,
Yeah.
obviously. Yeah. No, I'm talking about the Panthers.
Mhm.
Sorry, Giants. Steve Smith. Uh, I loved him. Then tight end. I mean, give me Kelsey. Talked about him. I'll take Kelsey.
I think that's a good pick. I in a way I'm not surprised you went with Steven Jackson. In a way I am surprised that we didn't mention CJ2K.
Yeah,
Chris
see,
Johnson?
if I wasn't gonna be biased, I was gonna go with LaDainian Tomlinson, though.
That's another one I was kind of surprised
That
we didn't really
was
bring up.
definitely a guy that would throw in there. But
you're,
everybody else did a biased pick. I had to do one myself.
yeah, that's fair.
Show my colors. Show my allegiance.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
How about-